Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and before I get going, I want to make sure you understand, I was looking on the Link2 platform, who is one of my sponsors. They have Link2 shares available, they have Polysign shares available, they have Ripple, they have Ledger, and then they also had Uphold. Those are the ones I've been interested in myself. I own all of those except for Ledger so far, but I'm going to try to get some of that soon. That's the plan. Link to that's in the top of the description. This is for accredited investors only. You can contact them and find out if you are. Check this out. I don't know if there may be nothing to this, but apparently this ISO GOAT person has looked at to get an update on the about the case, and it said last updated April 10th, 2023 at 7 a.m. In other words, I don't know if that means that somebody went in and updated something on the case. I guess the idea here being that hopefully the judge has gone in and updated and given a decision, but as of right now, we don't know anything other than someone updated something on April 10th. The date of last known filing was March 23rd, and it was last updated the 10th this morning at 7 Eastern time. So maybe there's something there, maybe there's not. Now, today I put through this, there's one thing that I've noticed. Every single time that there's an extended period of time that nothing happens or that the market's down or whatever, it's like a popular movement to try to lower expectations for the potential of XRP. Well, I'm not in that gang. I'm in the gang. I believe I've been studying this one company and this one digital asset for years and years now. And I have listened to the words that the people at Ripple have said. And I'm not saying that XRP, the only use case is what Ripple's doing. That's not what my point is at all. There's several other use cases, and those will be important, okay? But I'm just talking right now about the things I've heard them say about the use case they're working on. And I believe their words. And I have heard not one time, but 5, 10, 15 times, I've heard them say things that I've never heard anybody in any company ever say. And I put together this little compilation to let you know. I know exactly what I hold. I think that over time, because things didn't happen in the timeline that a lot of people thought, I think there's a lot of people that went negative. And then when they go negative, it's not good enough that they go negative. They want you to come down and be negative with them. The digital asset investor does not sign on to that, because I know what I hold, and I think there's a bigger picture here. And I believe that Ripple has told us the exact same. I think they've told us the truth from the very beginning. I just think some either weren't listening, or they were listening, and then as time went on and things went along, that they lost faith because it took too long. And now they want you to be negative. They want me to be negative. Not happening with this guy, because I've listened to the words, and now I'm going to let you listen to some of the words, because I put some of these together. Listen to these things, and I will literally stop it every time that I hear something that I've never heard anybody in any company say before, just to let you know. Here we go.
Intend to distribute the rest of the XRP then?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, Mahir. And I don't necessarily know that we'll ever distribute all of it. In my mind's eye, there's a possibility where, we end up more of a lending kind of, more of a lender of last resort capacity, maybe.
I've never heard anybody say that about a company. I've heard people say that about central banks, but not about a company.
Be a little strange for a software company, and maybe some things would have to change structurally. Maybe we have to have a different organization or something. Who knows, right? But as these capital markets develop, as liquidity develops, there are going to be folks who, if they want to provide liquidity in the asset, don't want to necessarily own the asset, because that puts them in harm's way for price movements.
10 years out on the financial crisis, we still don't have the infrastructure perhaps to prevent the next one. And I think this is where digital assets can really help, because an efficient digital asset can really solve some of the key problems in global liquidity. the world's got trillions and trillions of dollars tied up in liquidity just to get around how clunky the movement of value is around the world. If with a really efficient digital asset, something like XRP, and that's what we believe will be the most efficient, you can now reduce trillions and trillions of capital from being tied up. So you can make those transfers instantly as a bank or as a payment provider or as an enterprise without having to have money pre-positioned up.
So in other words, we believe that XRP can help prevent the next financial crisis. Ever heard anything like that before?
No, it's very simple. So I think one thing, if there is one message that you can get in this room, is Ripple is not an ordinary company. We are not here to have a small market share or do X, do Y, and make small amount of money or something to happen. We are here to make a dent in the universe.
Okay, let me insert another company in that, just to put this in perspective. Have you ever heard any company, let's say Home Depot, for instance, they're headquartered up in Atlanta, near me. Home Depot. Well, we at Home Depot, look, we're either going to make a dent in the universe or we're going to go away. We're not going to be some just small market share or whatever. Can you even imagine a company saying something like that? I can't, not until Ripple came along, especially not a startup.
We will change the remittance universe, the way you understand, the way value gets transferred across the world, between people, between institutions, or we will just fade away. So it's almost 0 or 1.
Home Depot. So we're either going to sell building materials and we're going to do it on this massive scale where we literally take all the market share, or we're just going to go away. It's not either or. Who says that?
Silicon Valley arrogance.
Because they saw it as rather than having a smaller number with a very high price, they saw it as something they wanted to be effectively a global reserve currency.
And the last key attribute of a healthy liquid.
And now she's going to tell you that we think that this kind of thing can help in a systemic situation, kind of like what Chris Larson said a minute ago.
Is really resilience. And that is getting at the ability for a market to recover from a significant systemic event. So if there was some sort of a market shock, the ability for order books to get back to normality and tighten back to similar prices to where they were prior to that event relatively quickly. And so all of those attributes are very important to a healthy liquid market.
And if you remember that clip I just showed you with Brianna Madigan, that was from a Ripple drop that they put up. Then they took that part out, but it was saved because you know how things go with the internet. Why did they take it out?
That Ripple could take over Swift one day.
Well, I think what we're doing and executing on a day-by-day basis is in fact taking over Swift. We've now signed up well over 100.
Who says that? We're taking over Swift.
Some of the largest Swift-enabled banks in the world are now using Ripple's technology.
Because I've always believed from the minute I read the consensus, the white paper on the consensus mechanism for XRP, I believed it had the capability of changing the world.
Changing the world.
And, I've had conversations with, Chris Larson and Arthur and David around the fact that it is, I think, transformational software that we kind of owe it our best effort to get it to where it belongs and where it deserves to be. So, being part of a team that's focused on doing that and, literally doing something that's never been done before, it's pretty cool.
But I think then where the digital assets fit in, like things like XRP and Bitcoin, they're kind of in that mid-range. They become, I think, like the Singapore dollar or the Swiss franc, and they become useful in, kind of lubricating the world to make it easier for those big four to get in the hands of people all around the world.
Remember, I'm from the legal department.
What CEO of a startup sits on the stage with the general counsel of the IMF and jokes around in a confident manner saying on a topic like this, whether the IMF will hold a digital currency when you happen to be with Ripple working on a use case for XRP?
Very conservative about these things.
How did Brad Garlinghouse get that comfortable with this guy from the IMF?
I don't want to go into great details about
Maybe I should take what the IMF is going to do. I think we stunned Ross into silence with that one.
For that to happen, okay, under the current legal framework, some country would have to use a crypto asset as its currency.
Like, how do you...
I think so. And then there was this. I couldn't remember if I had played this for you the other day. But everything I just showed you, but in summary, all the stuff I just showed you, there's a reason, and it's not, and I don't believe the things I believe about what this XRP represents because of what a Riddler said or a bear or whatever. I've been listening to their words for years, and words mean things, and you hear enough of them and enough times, and you eventually are sitting there going, wait a minute, something's going on here. Well, in the midst of everything I just showed you that we've been observing for the last 5+ years, this is going on here in the world. And it's not a coincidence.
Why should I be worried?
Yeah, well, that was a great summary, Jesse. And, really one of the driving goals of our foreign policy for decades now has been protecting the U.S. dollar. And at this point, this administration is throwing that away. And the reason that matters for regular people, not only does that erode our influence in the world, it's bad for our economy. It takes away some of the advantages that we have. But this is something where if the abandonment of the dollar takes off, for 80 years now, we have flooded the world with U.S. dollars. They've kept hold of them. That's been fantastic because they give them useful things. They give us toasters and cars and copper mines for those dollars. Now, the problem is if we throw that away, all of those dollars come flooding back into America. That means we have way too many dollars. We have a word for that, which is inflation. So we could see enormous inflation, and that's at a time when our banks are already wobbling.
So what can Joe Biden do about this right now? Because it seems like the entire world is conspiring against us and the dollar.
Yeah, there's two things. One of them we have been trying to get him to do for a long time, which is cut the spending. The inflation right now for the past, year and a half, Americans have been suffering, highest inflation in 50 years because of all the government spending. Forget raising, interest rates, forget all these shenanigans with the banks, cut the spending. Number two is we need to learn to mind our own business. Other countries have their way of doing things. If we go in there and we start dictating social policy, they start to get scared. And, what happened after Russia went into Ukraine is we seized the assets of the Russian central bank. Those were the dollars that they were holding. We did not even do that during the Soviet Union. We had, proxy wars going on all over the world, and we didn't even do that. This administration is just absolutely reckless. That sends a message to every country in the world that if you get on the wrong side of our LGBT policies...
I mean, this world's gone mad, folks. Get ready, XRP holders. It says XRP is on the edge. Breakout anytime now. Let's welcome $1 XRP. So apparently this guy sees something there. Then we got this. Ripple Payment Corridor, U.S.-Mexico sees massive increase in billions of dollars using XRP tech. Bitso has reported a massive increase in its remittance volume, aided by the XRP token. Ripple continues to make significant inroads in the Asia-Pacific region. Then an update on the Ellie Powell thing, Cowboy.crypto. He's the official cowboy of the Digital Asset Investor channel. He had said that he had his stuff there, I guess, for the Flare airdrop, and then he got his Songbird, but it was showing that he didn't have any Flare coming to him, and he was asking about that. Apparently it was a lot of people having this issue. Ellie Powell says that they noted the issue and they're working to fix it, so looks like that's being handled. This right here is very important, folks. One day you will thank yourself for not giving up. I talk to my 17-year-old about this very topic almost every single day of his life. You young people listening, never, ever, ever give up. This is the key. Once you set your mind to something, now that doesn't mean that it's not okay to alter your plans if you decide that you're not wanting to do something, but if you want it, don't give up because it gets hard. Because if it's worth having, it will get hard. My son's going through that as a 17-year-old baseball player right now, but I couldn't be more proud of him because you know what he does? That kid gets up and goes full throttle at it every single day, and yes, he gets frustrated at times, but he doesn't quit. I can't tell you how many stories that I know and have heard about people that, in the case of baseball with my son, kids that didn't even play when they were in high school, but they kept on playing. They even figured out a way to get somebody to put them on a sorry college team, and they just stuck around and kept playing, and then ended up in the major leagues. I mean, stories like that are heard every day. Never, ever, ever give up if it's what you really want. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family, never, ever give up. And if you haven't seen it yet, go watch the Nike Air movie about Michael Jordan and Nike. Great one. Learn some lessons there too.